Now, it's also a continuing pattern that we've seen since the election of Trump campaign and Trump administration officials who have conveniently forgotten meetings with Russians. Only when they are then presented with evidence they have to recant and acknowledge those kind of meetings. It is why we've got to continue this investigation. There's a lot more work to do. We continue to add additional individuals that will now need to be interviewed and receive documents. But obviously this past weekend's revelations move us forward, and we expect much more to come.
You said this is the first time the public has seen information suggesting that there was some of these discussions between Russians and Trump officials. This is the first time that you have seen information.
I'm going to leave my statement where I was.
Do you want to speak to Don Jr.?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and as well as if there, I think there's some doubt still of were there other individuals in that meeting beyond this Russian lawyer who has strong ties to the Russian government. The individual who was the lawyer or the individual who asked to set up the meeting, the music promoter in Russia. Again, for a campaign and now a president who continues to say there's no there, yet virtually every week or two there's more stories of meetings, undisclosed meetings with Russian officials that beg the question, if there's no there, why aren't more of these people coming clean at a more regular fashion?
Senator Warren, did you, the Intelligence Committee, you and Burr, know that this meeting had taken place before this weekend?
I'm not going to get into what we know or don't know in terms of information we received from individuals that were already scheduled to appear. But again, what we do know, keep coming back to, I think about this, I've been a candidate. At one point I was a campaign manager. If I was a campaign manager and had been contacted by what may be an agent of a foreign power and was told that that agent might have damaging information about a potential candidate, I think I'd remember that meeting. And I think it's also a little strange as a candidate if my son or son-in-law met with an official or an agent of a foreign power, I think I'd probably want to hear about that information. So again, I'll accept these individuals' words so far, but again, we've seen this constant pattern. As more facts come out, these individuals constantly have to recant.
Is Donald Trump Jr. someone you all had reached out to already? And do you think, have you discussed this with Burr?
I'm not going to get into the witness list and the individuals that we have talked to or plan on talking to. But rest assured, Donald Trump Jr. will be somebody that we want to talk to.
Do you believe that this meeting gives the appearance of collusion?
I believe it's remarkable that this meeting, one, was not reported beforehand, that two, this is again the first time the public has seen clear evidence of at least an attempt by the Trump campaign to obtain information, and again, in this case from a possible foreign agent, that would interfere with the Hillary Clinton campaign efforts. This is, again, kind of the underlying premise that has been raised throughout this whole investigation. And we've got more information to garner.
Do you expect to speak with Jared Kushner in the coming weeks?
Yeah, as has been indicated before, I think the chairman indicated this, that Mr. Kushner has volunteered to testify. I think it's appropriate that we obtain all the appropriate documents first, because, again, we want to make sure that we're able to ask the right questions so that we don't have, again, this constant pattern of convenient forgetfulness from senior level Trump officials.
You'll talk to Kushner and Manafort before the August recess?
Good try.
I wonder, though, if you can just give us a sense of where you are in the investigation right now. From what we understand, this week you're going to start to interview some Trump campaign officials. Why are you moving into this next phase?
That's your inference, Manu, but I'm not going to, again, I think the chairman and I working through a schedule, but I don't think it gains anything by going through who's coming in when.
Aside from this meeting, do you have any other indications that any other people from the campaign were sort of shopping for opportunities to...
And there are a series of claims that have been made, many of them made in the press, and it's our job and the job of this investigation to sort through those claims and find which are true and which are not true. What continues to bother me is that this pattern, and I think we're up to 20 plus examples of where senior level Trump officials, and even you could argue the president himself, continues to deny that they've had any kind of contacts with Russians until the proof comes out that there were contacts, multiple contacts, and then these senior officials recant or amend their filings. And I think a rational person would ask, why didn't they remember these particular meetings? I think many of these meetings are pretty important.
And Senator Warner, were you aware of this meeting or the details of it before these reports came
That
out?
question was already asked, but I'll give you the answer again. I'm not going to get into what I knew before or after, but I will say, again, that this is the first time the public has seen clear evidence that senior level officials of the Trump campaign met with potentially an agent of a foreign government to try to obtain information that would discredit Hillary Clinton. I think that's pretty significant.
Senator Warner, is that meeting on its face improper? And do you want Donald Trump Jr. to come testify in public and not just a private interview?
I think, again, sure, sorry about that. Those those pencils or soda pencils. I remember the old day when I used to read the clips on my book. Yeah. So, the question again, I think I was going to...
Do you think
yes.
on its face, this meeting with a Russian lawyer to try to get information detrimental to Hillary Clinton was improper, and would you like to see Donald Trump Jr. testify in public session about it?
Well, in terms of questions, clear collusion or even potential violations, that's for Special Prosecutor Mueller to determine. In terms of Donald Trump Jr.'s form of testimony, again, the chairman and I will work that out, but we will expect to hear from him.
Senator, there's been a report today that James Comey's memos may have contained some classified information. Do you have any indication that he disclosed classified information publicly, and have you seen the memos yet?
I don't have any indication that he did, but I would say this, that there are very few people that would know better how to draft a memo so it wouldn't fall into the classified area than Jim Comey. And he testified to that before our committee to a question that I asked him. I've seen these reports that there may have been after-the-fact classification. We don't know who may have classified those documents, if they were classified, and I want to get the answer to that.
Have you seen the memos yet?
I expect to see them very shortly.
Is this meeting going to be part of the Mueller investigation, or is it already part of the Mueller investigation?
Again, in terms of the witness list that Special Counsel Mueller has, you'll have to ask him. I know this much. Our committee intends to ask Donald Trump Jr., as well as, if we can find other people who attended that meeting beyond Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort, who we also intend to question, some very serious questions about why they take this meeting, why they didn't disclose it on the front end, and then the idea that somehow you would bring in the campaign manager and the president's son-in-law for some meeting that was supposed to be about Russian immigration. I believe they may have already changed that story from this morning. But again, this pattern, as information comes out, that they constantly recant and change their stories is, I think, very troubling.
Is there any significance to the timing of the meeting? That they had it right after, June 10th?
June 6th, I think.
June 6th?
Yeah. I think it is interesting that it happened so quickly after then candidate Trump secured the Republican nomination. But again, we'll have more questions on that to get answered.
Last question.
Isn't this the third time Jared Kushner has admitted to a meeting that was previously undisclosed with Russia?
Again, I'm not going to get into how many times that Jared Kushner has had to amend his filings about forgotten meetings with the Russians. But I will say that this is a pattern we've seen since Election Day, and it doesn't include just Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort. It doesn't include just Donald Trump Jr. It includes General Flynn. It includes Attorney General Sessions. It includes a series of other individuals that I find that in itself is a pattern that's troubling.
Have you seen Jared Kushner's security clearance for it?
Sir, could you give me a short summary of what you want in your statement?
Pardon me?
Your first statement?
Yeah. This was the first time that the public has seen clear evidence that senior level officials of the Trump campaign reached out to potentially an agent of a foreign government, clearly a Russian, to try to get damaging information about Hillary Clinton.
Have you seen Jared Kushner's security clearance forms, amended security clearance forms?
Personally, no.
Has it been described to you? Has it been described to you?
Thank you. Trying to give me.
Summer